It's a pleasure being here. It's my first time out here, and it's great to have anybody come out. And the one thing that I love is like when we entered in and we got applause. It reminds me of what it must be like for an ex-president. He always hears, "Hail to the chief" wherever he goes. I mean, if I could wake up to that every morning, I'd be ready to go. I just want to explain one thing before we get going here, because the title of all this is Watercolors for the Soul. I borrowed from the book title Water for the Soul. It's the first book that I wrote. And that book, the title, I just want to explain that because I hope it means something to you. You take it away with you. The title came from the greatest lesson my mother ever gave me. When I was 5 years old, I had a pet rabbit who passed away, and it tore me up. It was the first time I had anything that was alive that I lost, that I was connected to. And my mother could not console me for anything. And so this went on for 3 weeks. I cried every single night. And around that time, 3 weeks later, they had lost a friend to an automobile accident. So they decided to take my brothers and I to the funeral in hopes that the ceremony would help us get some closure about the loss of our dear pet. And when I was at the funeral, I didn't know the man who passed away. In the church, I saw all these people who were dressed in their Sunday best, and they're patting each other on the back, and they're hugging one another, and they're consoling one another, tears. And then at the repast, it looked like a family reunion. I mean, the mood had completely changed. People are laughing, drinking, and eating, and telling jokes. And then 3 months later, I was at the same church as a ring bearer for a wedding. And I was nervous and looked around in the congregation and pews, tried to find my mother's face. And I saw the same thing I saw at the funeral. The people in their Sunday's best, and they're patting each other on the back and hugging one another and crying and everything. And then the reception afterwards was just like the repast. So I was really confused because I knew that the mood and the occasions were totally different. So I was sitting in the corner staring out of a window at the park, at the hotel, in the ballroom. I was supposed to be in with the bridal party to take pictures because I was the ring bearer, right? I'm the guy with the pillow. And so, so my mother came and found me in the corner. And she said, "I've been looking for you. Where have you been?" I said, and the only thing I could think to say, I was 5 years old, was, "Why do people cry?" And she knew instantly what was going on in my head. She means you like the funeral and the wedding? I said, "Yes." She said, "All right, look out the window at the park. See the grass?" I said, "Yes." So what color is it? It's green. She said, "When the grass turns brown, what does that mean?" I said, "It means it dies." She said, "Well, how does the grass die?" I said, "It doesn't get any water." She said, "Right." So see the flowers, the birds, the squirrels? She said, everything that's alive needs water to stay alive. If it doesn't get water, it will die. Understand that? Said, "Yeah." She said, "Okay. Inside of you is something called a soul. And your soul is what keeps you alive. If your soul dies, you die. So you have to keep your soul alive." Got it? So yeah. She said, "Tears are water for the soul." That's why we have occasions to cry, whether they are sad occasions or happy occasions or easy occasions or hard occasions. We have to have some rain come into our souls to keep us alive. She says, so never be afraid or confused about why you have tears, because without them, you will die. And that was the greatest lesson I got as a 5-year-old growing up in a hyper-masculine environment and a hyper-masculine world, because I ended up telling my sons from that lesson that it's the poorest man in the world that doesn't know the value of his own tears. That's the poorest man in the world. So that's where that title came from. I just wanted you all to know that before we went on. Okay, so now I'll get going. I'm glad you guys allowed me that indulgence there. So this is the second most important lesson my mother ever gave me. To think means to ask a question. If you're not asking questions, you're not thinking. I was 7 years old when my mother gave me that lesson. 8 years later, I read a quote from the legendary statesman Winston Churchill that endorsed her instruction. What Churchill said was, when everyone is thinking the same, no one is thinking at all. Later still, at age 19, I had another confirmation of my mother's wisdom. During a brief but illuminating exchange, a theology professor suggested and proposed the following challenge to me. He said, everyone on earth, regardless of culture or class, race or religion, sex or sexuality, should at some point in their lives make an earnest, personal, and deeply introspective effort to rigorously question all forms of social indoctrination and cultural condition they've received in their lives. He reasoned that anything worth basing your life upon should be scrutinized for its structural integrity, lest someday your beliefs crumble and leave you with a collapse of morality, hope, and will. He also reasoned that such a personal inquiry would yield the universal truths and understandings essential to uniting the human family. Given those reasons, I accepted his challenge. I've yet to find a better process for examination than writing. For the act of writing forces you to question in order to formulate thoughts to write. Furthermore, writing requires you to scan the warehouse of your mind and process the lifetime inventory of information stored there. Only when information has been processed for understanding does it become knowledge. I was fortunate to have been made aware of the value of writing during my early adolescence. I was 14 years old. My cousin James Rivers, who was basically my surrogate father when I was growing up, suggested the merits of taking a crazy 15. Have any of you ever heard of a crazy 15? Yeah, you're going to get introduced today. What a crazy 15 was, I had to sit down at the end of each day, right before I went to bed, and write for 15 minutes. And when I asked him what I was supposed to write about, he said, that's what you have to figure out. He said, but here's the thing. Your eye can see 1,000 pieces of stimulus a second. Your brain remembers all of that. It can drive you crazy. And if you don't write out the crazy in your mind, you will never have the clarity for your destiny. So every night, I want you to write for 15 minutes. And that's how Crazy 15 came into existence. I can't tell you how many Crazy 15s I've had. I still have people call me crazy. But it is the reason why I became a writer. He also believed that by doing this, I would learn something that would be vital for me. And I hope that all of you take this with you as well. And that was a deeper understanding of common sense. And what he always said to me was common sense. The problem with it is that it's not common. He read his share of Voltaire. So whatever the method, I invite all of you here today to accept the challenge of questioning your condition, your perspectives, biases, and deeply held beliefs. The future we are responsible for constructing depends on how much thinking we give it now. Nowhere is this more important and applicable than with the instruction given to our children, particularly those life lessons given by mothers and fathers, because we are the first teachers to the child. They can only learn what we teach them. So if we have learned hatred and dysfunctional love and selfish behavior, that's exactly what we're destined to teach them as their conduct. Therefore, to not earnestly examine what ordains both our thoughts and behavior before constructing the thoughts and behavior of our children is an act of irresponsibility. That's how I look at it. Also, a failure to do so will guarantee the continuation of discord, which supports all of our divisions. That's what keeps me young. I get to hang out with these young geniuses and sit around there and them tell me that I inspire them. That is a good one. Let's get back. I want you to take an opportunity to listen and question, and most importantly, write what your heart directs and your mind determines. I'm sure all of you have things to write with here today, pads and such. If you have always desired to journal, but have been puzzled about how to begin, start by responding to the content and the themes of the poems and the musical works you came here to hear today. Record your impressions and interpretations. Recall a person or an event or a circumstance that binds your perspective or sentiment, pro or con. Transcribe your personal feelings and viewpoints by composing your own prose or verse. Pen your responses with whatever means you have available in other journals as you continue to process the lesson of your living. Preserve them for future reference and guidance. Encourage your beloved family members and valued friends to undertake a similar mental, emotional, and spiritual audit. Now and through the years, share with one another your written memories and revelations, your beliefs and convictions, your insights and discovered truths. Most especially, do this for your children. Keep your writings for their future reading and pass along the blood knowledge of your life. The soil of their souls has the richest potential to harvest the greatest good. Sow the seeds of your wisdom. Let them reap the bounty. Now, I'd like to read the first selection, poem, based upon the second most important lesson my mother ever gave me. To think. Inquisition gives birth to cognition. To ask is discernment's keystone. As answers are offspring to quandary, solutions are kin to dilemmas unknown. Without where, a there has no existence. And this won't respond without how. That can't define or tell without what. The commencement of thought does query allow. Without who, we're unknowable no ones. Because can't explain without why. When we probe, we gain comprehension. The substance of knowledge is query's reply. Who needs coffee after hearing that? That was incredible. I remember last night when we were doing rehearsal and I was listening to all this stuff, and I was thinking when I left, it was in the evening, how am I going to go to sleep tonight? All this running through me. I wanted to ask you before we move on to the next point, have any of you heard the word or know what synesthesia is? Anyone you know what synesthesia is? I discovered that I have it. It's a neurological phenomenon that you can associate and see light changes in color with sound. And when I was a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and I would listen to music, and everyone in my family was big into music. I had an uncle who played French horn in several orchestras. And I would close my eyes and listen to music, and it looked like the 4th of July in my head. And I thought this was for everyone. I thought that everyone saw colors associated with every beat, with every note, with every sound, with every rhythm change. But I came to find out that it wasn't true. It was just a unique phenomenon that happens to some people. And so this next selection I'm about to read is called With Eyelids Shut. It's sort of a tribute to that moment when I discovered that that happened with me. And the music I listened to most that I discovered that by was jazz. With eyelids shut, the first note you hear opens every pore. Then, like air through a screen door, a harmonic breeze blows through you, ventilating, stimulating, purifying, electrifying. You have to close your eyes to really hear it. The audio receptors of the soul are muted by vision. And this is spiritual music, the kind that connects your being to its being. With eyelids shut, you can see the colors of every melody. Masterful compositions painted from passion's palette. That infinitely hued, multi-chromatic spectrum we call emotion. With eyelids shut, you can taste the flavor of every rhythm. Tantalizing tempos seasoned by life's spices. Those chances and circumstances and actions and interactions we call experience. With eyelids shut, you can feel the saturation of every note. Lush tones soaked by labor's rain. That blood, that sweat, those tears we call meaning. Hear it, see it, taste it, feel it. Jazz. I really wish I could do that. I mean, I try to think that what I do with a pen and some words comes out or something like that. When we were first discussing this project, Kelsey and I discovered a similar love and affection for a jazz violinist named Stefan Grappelli. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, but I have to say that she did justice by remembering Stefan Grappelli. Now, the next selection I want to read is, when I was 15, I was introduced to a poem called If, Rudyard Kipling's If. And it was transformational for me. Created an incredible shift in the person who I was and the person I became. And my entire life, I always thought I wanted to write my version of If I could do that. I wanted to write it for my sons. And what I'm about to read is what I consider my version of If. It's called What I Have Become. I have seen the landscapes of gruesome and great, and have walked in valleys of love and hate. I have trudged through swamps and tripped on blunders, and conquered mountains to view my wonders. I have braved violent storms on malevolent seas, and confessed in forests with unfeeling trees. I have bathed in streams that wash away tears, and laid in meadows that hush away fears. I have fallen down hills and broken dreams, and wailed in deserts with silent screams. I have baptized in fields at dawn's arrival, and fished from rivers that fed my survival. I state not these things to vent or boast. I'm no worse than many, no better than most. I offer them solely for this understanding. We are made from the peaceful and the demanding. We are where we are going and where we have gone. We are what we are doing and what we have done. We are what we've been given and what we have earned. We are what we don't know and what we have learned. We are all we convey and all we conceal. We are all that we hurt and all that we heal. We are acts warm and tender, cold and extreme. We are what we despair and what we still dream. We are who we've forgotten and who we now know. We are what we're still holding and what we've let go. We are who we have been and whom we'll conceive. We are what we suspect and what we believe. So be worthy of praise or charged to be damned. I have come to be the me that I am, and neither boasted by pride nor broken with shame. What I have become, I accept and I claim. I don't know what you guys see in me. It's hard to follow that. It's really hard. The next poem that I will read and they will perform is actually, because of them, a dream come true for me. I had written this along with a collection of other poems as life lessons to my son, both my sons. But when I wrote this one particular poem, I heard it as a song. It was an immediate drum beat that came to mind and an immediate melody that came to mind. And for years, I've been trying to find the people to help me take it out of my head and put it into music. And then, bam, they came along. We sat at a coffee shop. I was beating on a table and giving them the rhythm, and they just ran with it. And what they came up with is not only exactly what I heard in my head, but well beyond what I thought I could hear. And the poem is about the crazy 15. There's something I want all of you to try at the end of each day, write for 15 minutes before you go to bed. And this explains the process of what the crazy 15 is all about. All right? Love that. 15 minutes. It's minor time for major doing. 15 minutes. Rewind what your mind's been doing. 15 minutes. Scrutinize what you've seen. 15 minutes. Analyze what it means. 15 minutes. Meditate on what you've heard. 15 minutes. Formulate it in your words. 15 minutes. Write it down to comprehend. 15 minutes. What you need to transcend corruption, confusion, deception, delusion, harsh rejection, and ill affection, bad decisions, impositions, complications, and frustrations. The ground you're not gaining, all your complaining, worries are trouble, problems are double, doubts and suspicions, sinful omissions, dreams you defer in that face in the mirror. 15 minutes. Take the time to appraise. 15 minutes. The living that makes up your days. 15 minutes. Write out the crazy that's in your brain. 15 minutes. Don't lose control. Don't live in pain. 15 minutes. Express yourself so you will know. 15 minutes. What to release and what to hold. 15 minutes. The profit gained from introspection. 15 minutes is the knowledge of your life's direction. I don't know how you all found it, but that was phenomenal to me. And I want to let you know that was like a world premiere. Nobody had really heard that before. You guys are the first ones to hear it. And it really is an incredible dream for me. That has been in my head for 24 years. And I couldn't figure out how to get it out. And then the brainchild over here. I mean, what's coming out of this guy's head, you can warm your hands in the winter. They put it all together. It's just phenomenal for me to hear it, and I'm glad that I got to share it and experience with you. This next selection is a poem that I wrote when I was 14 years old. And I wrote it because my English literature teacher thought I was a bit precocious and decided that she wanted to sort of call me out in class because I had, at that point in time, distinguished myself as a person who could write rather prolifically, quickly, just about anything. And so we had an assignment where everyone had to do creative writing and read out loud. And whenever I had something to read out loud, I invariably drew the applause of the class, and I was always happy about it. But it was something about that bothered her. She thought that I had too much ego or too much pride. So she said to me, I want you to write something right now before class is over with and read it. And then we'll see how good it is. And so the person sitting next to me happened to be my girlfriend at the time. And she said, she volunteered what the subject was that I would write about, because she had heard me speak about this many times. Oftentimes when I wrote it in the evenings, I wrote by candlelight. And I wrote by candlelight because my grandmother was the one who taught me to get over the fear of the darkness. She said that ghosts and spirits were real, and they lived in the darkness. But there's a secret to killing them off. You don't have to be worried about them. She said that they have very thin lungs. And if you light a candle, you'll burn off just enough oxygen so they can't breathe. So I would go to bed by candlelight. So I would write by candlelight so I wouldn't have to be afraid. And one thing that I thought of in terms of the flame on the candle is that it moves indiscriminately. We don't know what makes it move. And it reminded me a lot of watching babies sleep. And you see them smile and you see them do things like this with their fingers while they're sleeping. And I always thought that they were listening to music that we couldn't hear. That they were playing a piano that we could not hear. And so I came to think of the flame on the candle similarly. And this is how I saw that flame. It's called Nature's Ballerina. I have often stared at you, held hostage by my fascination. Dazed and a gaze hypnotic. With subtlety and shimmer, you move in ways fickle and familiar, fleeting and everlasting. Yours is an unpredictable choreography, timed to music only you can hear. An orchestral arrangement of shifting breezes, confined to a space of stark singularity. Your lure captures millions as easily as it does one. Enslaving concentration and commanding fantasy. I have often witnessed the service of your dance, a purpose called for many reasons. Those regaled and those romantic. Sacred, ensemble. I comprehend your motion, defining the elemental, interpreting the emotional, suggesting the eternal, a flame flickering in mystery. That was the last time that teacher challenged me. I was 14 when I wrote that, and I wrote it in about 12 minutes because I was in the class, and I had to deliver it before the class was over with.
Impressing your girlfriend.
I'm glad you said that because that's all I was trying to do. Because she stood up for me. Okay, so when she stood up for me, I had to show her that I really valued that. And so the whole time I was thinking about writing it, that's all I was trying to do. Oh, it worked. It worked rather well. Oh, man, that's a good one. Okay, so the last poem that I'm going to read is actually the title of the book that it was taken from, called Sow the Seeds, which is a poetry journal that I wrote in connection with Water for the Soul. Both those books were the life lessons I had compiled from my mother. And I wanted to pass them on because she passed away before they had a chance to really spend time with her. And so Sow the Seeds is what the second book is based upon. You guys want me to start? Okay. Between the borders of your heart, you'll find the earth for every emotion, the soil and clay of any feeling, and the realm of comprehension. You can plant and nurture love in the gardens of your affection, and yet germinate the weeds of cruelty and hate. You can farm the fertile deltas of your hopes and expectations, or perish in the deserts of your doubts and indecision. You can stroll along the shores of soothing grace and healing mercy, or heave in the septic marshes of bitter envy and disdain. You can play upon the pastures of serenity and bliss, or ramble across the prairies of self-pity and regret. You can quench from the welcomed rains of caring words and praising voices, or be scorched by the fiery showers of molten malice and contempt. You can stand on the solid ground of deserving honor and proven trust, and still be ruined by the quakes that can destroy all reputations. Now, amongst the many acres of your sentiments and moods lies a field between the rivers of awareness and concern. It is the land whose cultivation yields those selfless acts of giving that console and inspire with the promise of new birth. Here grows the wheat of true compassion, the staple grain of all goodwill, that which feeds the moral conscience of humane consideration. Till this lot with empathy and water it with kindness. Enrich its soil with noble value and sow the seeds of your good deeds. Harvest every sprout and stalk and offer up your bounty. Give the most that you are able with no thought of compensation. For a heart that cannot give without demand or expectation will foster those conditions that starve its decency to shame. Remember this and learn the value of your thoughtfulness and favors, for you will never know your wealth until you see what you can give. Tremendous thanks. Tremendous thanks. I appreciate it. I hope you guys go away doing some journaling. I hope you know the when we did 15 minutes, he timed the song for 15 minutes to give you an idea how long 15 minutes takes. So now you know. All right.
We just want to say thank you both to the Brushwood Center and to Tyler for being such wonderful partners to this ensemble. We're so grateful for the opportunity to work with so many different kinds of people and to play in such a wonderful space for such a receptive audience. And we couldn't ask for anything more. We've been dreaming about this project for like 3 years, and it's finally happened. So we're very grateful, and we hope to see you around very, very soon. So thank you again.
All right.